Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm still here in Sisters, Oregon. This is the beautiful Three Sisters here behind me. I've loved my time here in Oregon and I've just loved these mountains. And we're going to continue our video series today on jobs. How do you support yourself and become a nomad? People all the time ask me, can I afford to become a nomad, a van dweller, an RVer? And my answer is always, how can you afford not to? The cost of owning a house is killing nearly all of us. Owning or renting consumes such a huge portion of your income that you cannot live well on it. The majority of Americans do not live well anymore. That's the reality of the day in which we live. And so if you move into a car, van, RV, SUV, you can live drastically better on the exact same amount of money. But if you want to travel, you're going to have to give up that job and get another job. If you have a pension like I do, or you're on Social Security like I will be very soon, money's not an issue to you. But for the majority of us who aren't on pensions, don't have Social Security, it's a big issue. Where are we going to work? In the past video, we talked about saving for the future and how we go about that, and the consequences of not saving for the future. And we also talked about I'm going to talk about 10 jobs for van dwellers, RVers, nomads. The first was campground hosting. Today we're going to talk about the second, and they're the second of what I consider a trilogy of jobs. 3 jobs that mesh together so well and last about 6 months out of the year, and that when you're done, you should have enough money to live on for the rest of the year, not work, or if you're really careful, enough money to live on for the next year and a half and not work for a whole year. The first job is campground hosting. They mesh together perfectly. Campground hosting, which basically lasts from mid-May to mid-September, sometime in September. The next job, and all 3 of these jobs give you a free site. You're not paying for any housing, but you get a site to stay at. And I recommend you be in the campground host in the National Forest. You're in a gorgeous area for 3 to 4 months out of the year, and I loved that. I loved my job as a campground host. Go watch that video. The second job, which we're talking about today, is working for the Beet Harvest. Oh, stop right there. I'm not going to work on a farmhand. I'm too old. I don't want to work that hard. No way. Believe me, you will never set foot on a farm. I want to tell you that right away before we go any further. You will never set foot or work on a farm at the Beet Harvest. Well, you could go onto a farm if you wanted to, but it's not your job. In fact, you are working for the sugar manufacturer, not the farm. You are you're going to be working in manufacturing, not in agriculture. So don't worry about this being such a back-breaking harvesting job. You'll never set foot on a farm. So you work this job, it's usually 3 weeks to a month. The weather can make it longer or shorter. It's very weather dependent, and it's in a very volatile part of the country along the Canadian border. Usually it's in Montana, some in Wyoming, North and South Dakota, and Minnesota. And that job it can run from sometime in September to the end of October, all depending on the weather. It's 100% weather dependent, and it's a big unknown. And then after you leave there, you can go to Amazon.com. And at Amazon, you can actually, they will work with you. If you say, I am going to the Beet Harvest, they'll say, that's fine. We work with Beet Harvest people all the time. Leave the Beet Harvest whenever you can, come here and we'll put you to work. So the 3 butt against each other. You go from one to the other, usually without a break, although there could be a break between, there might very well be a break between campground hosting and beet harvesting, but that's good, you get to relax. They're all physical jobs. I won't lie to you, you're on your feet all day. They are physical, they aren't terribly physically demanding, but they are physical jobs. You will come home tired. Just being on your feet 8, 10, 12 hours a day, for most of us older folks, is hard. However, I know I literally know many couples, many people who are in their 70s and do these jobs without the slightest problem. It's completely within your capacity unless you have some disability, which doesn't allow that. And then, of course, you just can't go do a physical labor. This is physical labor, period. But it's within the capacity of all 70-year-olds, and if you're 30 or 20, 30, 40, 50, piece of cake, you can do it. Now, the reason you're going to do this, why I'm recommending this trilogy, and specifically Beet Harvest, is you make a lot of money in a very short period of time. And you're provided a free site. You don't have to pay for a site. You're giving a free, full hookup site for the entire 6 months. You make good money. And you usually make overtime. At campground hosting, there's no overtime, but at the Beet Harvest and at Amazon, there are mandatory overtime. And so because of the mandatory overtime, they are compressed and paid really well. So let's talk about the money at the Beet Harvest. A tip, because it's so weather dependent, there is no typical season. But if there is a typical season, it's 3 weeks, and you should walk out of there with $3,500 in your pocket. If you're a couple, in 3 weeks, you should walk out with $7,000 in your pocket. Now that's what makes it so appealing. Yes, there are 12-hour days. Say you have, say it's clear every day and you work every day, you could work 3 weeks straight, 12 hours a day. That's hard. But at the end, if you're a couple, you walk away with $7,000 cash. How would you like to have $7,000 cash in your pocket? For the 3 jobs, estimating very conservatively, in 6 months, a single person should easily be able to walk away in 6 months with $8,000 in your pocket. Cash. Talking cash in your pocket, above your traveling and living expenses. That's very realistic. And if it's a good season and there's more overtime and you're younger and physically more able and can work all the overtime, and they will usually work you all the overtime you will take. Some of it has mandatory overtime no matter your age. Then you could easily walk away with $10,000 a person. If you're young and fit and take all the overtime, it's a good year at the harvest. You could easily walk away with $10,000 cash per person, $20,000 cash for a couple, a young couple, easily on most average years. So the money is awfully appealing. And you can live then on that for at least 6 months, take all winter off. I know a lot of people who take the whole winter off then, and boondock in the desert, come out to quartzsite, spend time with friends, and then do the circuit again. If you're really frugal, a couple, you could not have to work for another 1.5 years. You could take the whole next 1.5 years off and go back to work in May the following year. Now let's talk specifically about the Beet Harvest. What it is, what the job entails, and what you'll be doing. All the farms in the surrounding area, and there's lots and lots of them, harvest their sugar beets. It's harvested mechanically, I think primarily. They put the sugar beets in trucks. The trucks go to the sugar factory. The trucks back in and dump the sugar beets themselves. They're just dumped out right on the ground. One person, his job will be just to back the truck up. Okay, you back up, dump, stop, dump, pull out. You back up, dump, stop, pull out. That's his job. You might get that job. And when they dump it on a conveyor belt, a gigantic conveyor belt, on a huge machine, multiple stories tall, called a piler. And the piler then has a conveyor belt. They dump it on it, it goes up, and it creates this gigantic pile. I mean, this gigantic pile. I'll show you some pictures. I had a friend, went there. I'm putting the link up to her video where she talks about it. They said, who can be a piler? She was an adventurous woman. She said, I can run a piler. Well, I've never done it before, but I can do it now. They put her in the piler. She was in the piler. She got $2 an extra. She kind of ran the crew. She determined when they took breaks, who took breaks. They took breaks in rotation. She said, you go now. She took good care of them because she was a good person. Got traffic. I've been making a lot of videos here. First traffic we've had go by. She ran the piler, made $12 an hour. She was in a heated indoor machine. If the weather was crummy, she was pleasant. As the pile, this huge pile builds up, she moves it forward. It literally drives forward, and they keep, like over a 12-hour day, maybe she'll move 20 feet. I don't know how much, but she'll move it, and she'll move the piler around, and she'll just kind of oversee the whole thing. She's kind of a foreman in a sense, but it could be you. That could be your job. Another job is a bobcat operator. If you've ever operated a bobcat, or if you're just handy and you figure you can learn it, you come in, you say, they'll say, we need bobcat operators. Who can run a bobcat? You raise your hand, you get $2 an extra. You run a bobcat 12 hours a day. That's your job. But I think they will switch you out because that is a kind of a pounding job. Bobcat can be real pounding. So there's a couple of the jobs. The ground crew is most of it. When the dump trucks dump it, beets fall off. Your job, quite a few people's job, is just to simply put the beets up on the conveyor belt. That's your job. You'll do that maybe 12 hours a day. Maybe they rotate jobs so it's not so boring. I don't know. Probably. They treat pretty well. Pretty well is what I understand. Another person is just kind of generally cleaning, because if you don't want trip hazards, so everything has to be kept up. I think they sweep, just general ground crew stuff. And finally, another job is testing. Out of every truck, there's a person who does nothing but testing. He chooses one beet, and either he sends it off to be tested or he tests it. I forget which. I've never done any of this, but one of their jobs is just to be the tester. Everyone's making $12 an hour. That's what they were making last year. It's 2016. In 2015, they all made $12 an hour to start. Of course, it goes up every year you come back. And overtime is more. I'll tell you about that in a minute. They take pretty good care of you. My experience with people that work there, they take pretty good care of you. They care about you enough. They want you to come back. If nothing else for greed, they want you to come back. Getting people is hard. Training people is really hard. They want you to come back. They treat you well. The job isn't bad. It's just 12 hours a day on your feet, day after day after day. You get home, you collapse. They tell people not to plan to do any laundry, do the minimum amount of cooking. You're going to come home, you're exhausted. You're just going to sleep, eat, go back to work the next day. But the reward is, in 3 weeks, you can walk out of there with $3,000 to $4,000 really easy in 3 weeks' work. A couple can walk out with $6,000 to $8,000 really easy in 3 weeks' work. When you return, if you return for 2 or 3 years, you move up and you don't become a temp, you become a permanent employee. You might work much longer. My friend talked about she will go back certainly this year and be the piler operator again, and she said that after 2 or 3 years of that, she gets raises every year, but at one point she will become an employee. Just temp. She only works for but she might work 4, 5, 6 months out of the year. Now there are another job at the there that won't be. I don't know if it'll be working for the sugar beet company or not. Is truck driver. And if you're a truck driver, you have truck driver experience. They make good money. They're sitting in a truck, just driving truck 12 hours a day. You're not on the freeway. You know, it's not long haul. You'll get done at the end of the day. You'll go to the campground and camp in your rig. And because it's agriculture, in all of these states, you don't have to have a CDL. It's agriculture. And so if you have truck driving experience but have let your CDL lapse, you could get that job, make good money, sit in your truck all day. It's boring, it's repetitious, it's just driving around constantly all day, but you're sitting in a truck, and the truck, I guess, is beating you up. You know, that's probably the way it is too. So there are lots of good jobs there, and they make good money. They make even better money because that's a skill. Skilled people make more money. I don't know the details, but I do believe they end up making an awful lot of money. So there you have it. That's a basic overview of the beet harvest. It's a really good job if you can physically do the work. If you're younger, and this is mainly aimed at you younger people who don't have pensions, who don't have Social Security, who have to work. But you want to be full-time nomads, and by younger I mean less than 60. You can do this and probably physically do this no problem and get done with a lot of money. Again, in the trilogy, you go from job to job to job, but when you're done, a couple comes out with 20,000 cash in your pocket. It's worth it, isn't it? It's how you can support yourself. And over the course of this series, we'll look at a lot of other jobs that are not physically demanding. These are the most physically demanding, but the highest pay. So we're looking at them first. One more thing about the sugar beet harvest, how to get the job. Just do a Google search on sugar beet harvest and it will come up. And I will put at the bottom of the screen through a lot of the video different organizations and their websites that you can contact and get the job. Okay, so come back to the series. In the meantime, subscribe to our channel, like us on YouTube, and share us on your social media. If you think there are other people that need to hear the message we have, a message of hope, a message of alternative life, of a life living following your dreams. Follow your dreams. That's our goal here, to get you to follow your dreams and live a life of happiness instead of drudgery and monotony. So until our next video, thanks, and we'll talk to you later.